Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back and thanks for being here with me again. Today's story is about why I did a bike tour. And there's a lot of reasons why that I haven't really touched on yet in other videos, so I figured I'd make a whole video just about this. So in order to try to keep this interesting for you guys so that it's not just me talking to the camera, because man, I don't know why anyone would want to watch that, but if you're here and you're watching, thank you. And just so you don't get bored, I'm going to do what I've seen other vloggers do, which is jump to different locations as they tell the story. So we're going to start here, and then we're going to go here. No, this isn't going to work. I'm too far from the microphone. There's airplanes flying around. Let's try somewhere else. I mean, this looks cool and everything, but it's kind of noisy right here. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's try somewhere else. I mean, it is quieter in here, but I don't think this is going to work. So I should have known we were going to end up back here, and that trying to do entertainment value was just going to be a distraction. If you're here and you're watching this and you want to hear a story time about my first bike tour, thank you so much. If sitting here and watching me talk in front of a camera is boring, I totally don't blame you if you click out and watch something else. But without further ado, here's the story of my first bike tour. So my first bike tour happened kind of by accident. It started about 3 years ago. All of a sudden, one day I found myself with no car anymore. To make the long story short, I was in a relationship, we were living together, and we had 2 cars, but we were just sharing one. So I sold mine, and then when that relationship ended, I kind of had no more car left anymore. So in order to get around, get to work and stuff, I pulled an old bike out of my parents' garage, which I hadn't ridden in maybe 15 or 20 years. It was an old mountain bike from the 90s. And I started riding to work, and just riding anywhere I had to go. I rode my bike. That was my new form of transportation around town. Most of the places I had to get to were only a few miles away, or maybe 10 miles or less, so it didn't seem like such a big deal. And even though I had never really ridden a bike as transportation, it was a necessity, and it's what I started doing. The thing about that is that I started really enjoying it, and I started going on rides every day, even when I didn't have to go to work. So it just started becoming a favorite hobby, pastime, and slash way to get exercise. And so I don't know how deep I want to get into this yet, but I've talked a little bit about how I was experiencing some depression and anxiety, and the riding around really was helping me. At that time, I didn't even leave the house unless I had to. It was bad. But anyway, the cycling was another thing that helped get me out of the house, got me some exercise, and I just loved it. And then another side note is that I've mentioned also in one of the vlogs that I had a knee injury. I used to like to hike and run a lot, but I couldn't run and hike anymore because of that for many years, and it really made me feel like I was stagnating. So I couldn't really get outside as much as I wanted to. But then when I started cycling, rather than hurting my knee injury, it started helping it, because the cycling was this flowing motion and instead of like a jarring motion of running, and it just felt great on my knee. So in the past, I've had some notions of wanting to do a long distance hike, like maybe the Pacific Crest Trail or something along those lines. I mean, maybe not necessarily all at once, but in sections or whatever. And I couldn't really do that because of this knee injury. So the cycling was really helping the knee injury. So I started watching YouTube videos, and I soon discovered people like Darren Alf, the bicycle touring pro, and I realized, wow, there's people out there who do long distance cycling rather than hiking. And I had already gotten the cycling bug, so that just immediately caught my attention, and I started watching all of Darren's videos. And thanks again, Darren, for making such amazing content and for all the inspiration and information. Anyway, I found Darren's videos and a few other people's videos, and I just started watching all this stuff on YouTube and instantly knew that that's something I wanted to do. So in the meantime, I rode around the old bike, and I was riding it all the time, and I was starting to ride longer distances. One thing I should mention is that bike didn't fit me anymore. It might have fit me 20 years ago, but it didn't fit me anymore. It's probably maybe like a smaller medium frame, and I'm 6'1", so I definitely needed something larger. So I was researching bikes, and I knew that I wanted to do long distance bike touring. I kind of instantly had the notion of the California coast, which has happened now, which is amazing. But the California coast and also the Great Divide mountain bike route, those were my first two goals. And so I knew I kind of wanted to do some off-road stuff and some on-road stuff and some cycling around town and commuting and getting to work and all different things. So I was looking for that all-around bike. After a year of researching, I finally found the Surly Ogre, which, as you guys know, I affectionately have named Rover, and he's my buddy. And got him in October of 2017, so it's been just over 2 years. And I knew instantly that we were going to be best friends. I know that's so stupid, and I'll probably edit that out. But I knew that I had found the bike that was going to be my all-arounder. I mean, I kind of am one of those guys that just wants to do it all one bike, and that's what I'm going to ride. And, you know, I think Rover can handle almost everything. I mean, maybe if I wanted to do some single track and some really hardcore mountain biking stuff, I would probably need a bike with suspension. But, I mean, it's not necessarily my favorite type of riding anyway, so I think I found the best bike I could have found. And I'm still so happy about that choice. Okay, wait, hold on, guys. Is this story getting boring? Do I need to switch locations again? All right, let's do it. I mean, you gotta give me credit for trying to keep you guys entertained, right? All right, back to the story. So I started planning my first bike tour down the California coast, and I had it set for spring of 2018. This was in October of 2017, so I was planning, you know, maybe 6 months ahead. And in the meantime, I ended up getting an opportunity to go on an overnight trip with Darren, the bicycle touring pro. He did a Bikes and Burritos overnighter in Southern California near where I live, and it was just, of course, an honor and just an amazing experience. It rained on us the whole time, which of course it never rains in LA, so that was kind of crazy. And what's even crazier is that the following year when he did it, it rained on them again, which is like, man, Darren, I think you have started a tradition, so hope you keep that part going, and may it rain on all of the Bikes and Burritos trips. And I'm totally kidding about that. But anyway, I got to go on my first overnighter. I didn't even have all my racks and stuff, but I did manage to get a tent and a sleeping bag and all that stuff. On that trip, they had a support vehicle, so I didn't have to carry all my stuff, although most people did. A month or two later, I was planning to do the trip, but around that time is also when my dad's health started declining pretty bad, and he started needing a lot of help with things. He couldn't really walk so well, and just things really shifted a lot then, and I was in a position where I wasn't working much and I was around and able to help, so I did, and it started taking a lot of time just adjusting to what things he needed and getting used to all that. Just, it was a really hard time. Also around that time though, I wasn't really bringing in enough income to support the trip. As just one way of funding the trip, I started a GoFundMe because people seemed so supportive of the idea, but just knew I couldn't do it, and they seemed to want to help. And you know, I thought I'd get $50 out of it or $100 or something. And man, it was amazing how many people supported that campaign. And I mean, I got over $1,000 donated by my friends, and I'm still just honored to this day and so thankful to every single person that donated to that, because I think, you know, I kind of presented it as, you know, here I am doing the best I can in the world and need to do something to help get me out of this funk that I'm in. And this bicycle tour was the thing that I felt like I needed to do to accomplish that or set that into motion. And so people supported that, and man, I'm so grateful. And there is going to come a time when I'm either going to be able to pay you guys back or pay that gesture forward in some way. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody that helped me with that. It's just still blows my mind that that happened. So with that money, I was able to buy all the gear I needed, and I was able to get a tent and get the racks for my bike and, you know, all that stuff. And I got some really nice gear that I know is going to last a long time, years to come. And there were certain areas in which I didn't want to skimp, like getting a good tent, which I bought the Big Agnes copper spur, and it survived that first night in the rain for bikes and burritos. It poured on us all night, so I feel confident that that tent can withstand a lot. So anyway, the trip was planned for the spring of 2018, but I had to cancel it because I couldn't afford it, basically. And in order to afford it, I was going to have to borrow money and go into further debt, and I didn't want to do that because I was working on getting out of debt. So that, combined with my dad needing more help at that time, I just decided it wasn't the right time to go, and I had to cancel the trip. So needless to say, it was a big bummer, and it didn't really help my depression at the time. I felt like I had failed. I felt like I didn't achieve my goal. I felt like I couldn't get it together even enough to do this one thing, and it really hit me hard. And, you know, it was a whole another long year of wondering what was going to happen. I did plan the trip again for a year later so that I had something still to look forward to, but in the back of my mind that whole time there was sort of a doubt as to whether I was going to achieve it because I had to cancel the first time. On the bright side, I did get a lot more time to train and ride a rover around and save money. And also, Big Sur was one of the places I was looking forward to the most. And Big Sur was actually closed that year in 2018 for construction. So I was going to try to kind of sneak through anyway, but it worked out for the best that I actually got to go through Big Sur. So anyway, I had the trip planned rescheduled for 2019. And all the planning and preparation really was coming together. That part of it was actually really helping my mental state, just to have this thing coming up to look forward to. And of course, nothing goes as planned. And a month or two before the trip, I ended up having some dental emergency that I had to take care of. And it basically blasted a huge hole into my budget. And you know, of course, dental work is not something you can mess around with. You just got to take care of it. So I was wondering if I was going to have to cancel again. And I almost did have to cancel again. I mean, even a couple of weeks before the trip, I wasn't sure if it was going to happen. But somehow I just pulled it together. And the way that happened was I was working any job I could get. I had some friends offer to help me out with some work, painting houses and doing some musical cues for some TV shows, which was really awesome. And then I had one friend gift me a sum of money that really put the budget back over the top again. And you know who you are, and I'm extremely grateful to you for that. And again, it was just so humbling that so many people wanted to help me in that way and see me achieve this. And again, just so grateful. So a few weeks before the trip, it turns out it actually was going to be able to happen, and plans were commencing, and it felt really good. It felt really good to know that something that I had spent at this point 2 years on was coming to fruition. Those weeks before the trip were really exciting, planning and preparing, and when the trip finally did actually take place, it was monumental, to say the least. I really don't know how much of that came through in the vlogs, but it really was life-changing, and it did change my mentality from feeling like a loser who can't do anything to having this new feeling of, oh man, I accomplished something so hard, and if I can do that, then I can do anything. I can accomplish any of my goals. And you know, I mean, I know there's people who accomplish way more than a 500-mile bike ride. Don't get me wrong, there's people who traverse the entire globe on their bike or just do all sorts of other amazing things. And I know this was not that crazy of a feat. Don't get me wrong, like I have perspective on that. But for me, it was huge. And having nothing bigger to compare it to that I've ever done, it was, you know, one of the most adventurous undertakings I had done. And so to accomplish it, it felt really good. And again, I do feel like the whole point of this YouTube channel and of vlogging that adventure and future adventures and anything I do here is really because I've been inspired by so many people on YouTube, and it feels really fun to be able to share what I'm doing, and I hope that it inspires somebody. I thank you to everybody who watched the series. I thank you for all the amazing feedback I've gotten. so grateful to you guys, and it's just a pleasure and an honor to make videos that people want to watch. So thank you again. I feel like I've been rambling so long that I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now. So I just want to say thanks again to everybody for watching this channel and for watching my series. I would love to hear about your adventures too, so please feel free to contact me, leave some comments, and tell me what you're up to. Alright guys, thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next adventure. Peace. Peace? Peace. 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 God, I'm so awkward. The trip was planned for spring of 20... So anyway, the spring was planned for the trip... So anyway, the